Well, the second question that we have is for the hypothetical involves Carrie Cold Call. Carrie Cold Call hasn't had much luck with employers through the usual channels. Desperate, she decides to issue a mass mailing, sending her resume to 70 hiring partners, hoping for a bite, just running down the list of every hiring partner she can find. Is this a good idea, Nicole?
Well, I would definitely give Carrie credit for being, thoughtful in her approach. I guess somewhat thoughtful and I guess resourceful more than thoughtful. The problem is that it can't hurt her to do that. But she should be thoughtful in the way that she is emailing these hiring partners or addressing the email or the cover letter rather to them. More often than not, all of those emails and letters and resumes are forwarded to me as a recruiter in the office. And unless there's something really compelling within that letter or personal statement or cover email, more often than not, if we are not hiring, we're not likely to sort of take a chance on Carrie or make an extra effort for Carrie if she can't really convey why she's interested in Morrison and Forrester, why she's interested in the San Francisco office in particular, or any of our other offices, or, hearkening back to Oliver and his issue, if she's interested in our, state and local tax practice, why is that of interest to her? Have a compelling story, and then perhaps that might be useful for her. I think the most useful thing that Carrie could do, though, is to reach out to contacts that she already knows. That type of personal introduction is always much more useful than a cold call or a cold email or cold letter.
Don't you think it can hurt her if she's doing this kind of cold resume dumping instead of taking some of the networking steps that you suggest?
Yes, actually, in fact, I do. So this would be a last-ditch effort. There are other things that she should definitely try and pursue before this, and networking is one of those. If she has, for whatever reason, not been able to secure a job through on-campus channels, and she's gone to her career center for extra help and guidance, and then she's, as a third or fourth step, gone through networking, whether it be through an alumni network or friends and family. This is a last-ditch effort, but it's risky. It's risky to do something like that. The legal community is very close-knit. A lot of people know each other. A lot of attorneys know each other, and who's to say people wouldn't say, oh, I got this resume from Carrie, and everyone else says, so did I. It sort of discredits her a bit, and that is, like I said, it can be a little risky.
Well, David, you have some thoughts on this and some ideas of what else Carrie could do also?
Absolutely. Nicole is very polite, and I give her a lot of credit for that. I give this a straight fail. Look, when you feel like you've gotten shut out of the OCI process or it hasn't worked out for whatever reason, this idea of cold calling or cold mailing might seem like a good idea, but that time and energy is better spent doing other things that are going to give you a better shot either in the next year, if you're talking about 2L OCI, or as your career starts, if you're talking about 3L OCI. I mean, the odds of a hit on sending 60 cold resumes to firms that have on-campus interviewing programs that didn't work out the first time is just extraordinarily low. They're just going to get sent back to the recruiter. The recruiter's going to look at them and say, oh, we interviewed this person already once, or we didn't pick this person for an interview already for a reason, and not encourage this sort of resume dumping activity. You're going to always hear a story of somebody who made it. That absolutely is true. And maybe if you're from a very non-traditional background, or your school doesn't participate in OCI for some reason, this is a way to go. But spend that time on something else. Spend it on networking. Spend it on improving your grades. Spending on getting a job outside of sort of big law initially, and see if you can build a career that's going to be more rewarding to you anyway. Do something else with that time rather than spending the time, the money, the energy, the FedEx costs, the paper, all of that on the strategy that is extremely unlikely to work.
I mean, you know me, I'm always saying that if you strike out completely on OCI for 2+ years, maybe you need to do something else besides big law. I'm always a big fan of that. Don't you also think, David, that there's just there's a ode of desperation that kind of emits off of a person who is doing that, and it really just seems to me like the person is kind of just trying to make a big show, like maybe for their parents, maybe for their friends, to show like, oh, I tried everything I could think of.
You know, I think it depends a lot on the context, and I know that's such a lawyer answer, but such is what happens when you interview lawyers. You know, there are people who legitimately come from non-traditional backgrounds who strike at OCI for reasons that might not be fair, and to them, maybe this is a fair last-ditch effort. But to, you know, your average 2L who just didn't make it at OCI one year, I think I can see why people don't understand it the same way you do, Ellie.